Let's be friends.
Have you not?
And here we go. And here we go. And good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Ambassadorial Wing and episode 3 of No Sequel November. And hope y'all are having a good Tuesday night. It is good to see you all once again here on the Ambassadorial Wing. And this evening, we bring you all a double feature review. We don't do these very often, but they have been fairly popular. So put together another double feature review. And tonight we'll be reviewing a pair of Tony Scott features from the 1990s, Crimson Tide and Enemy of the State. But before we get into the review proper, just a few pieces of housekeeping. As always, make sure you smash that like button, share this stream out with all of your friends. And if you've come across this video, you've come across this review, whether live or on the replay, and you enjoyed it, of course, hit that subscribe button and become a part of the Ambassadorial Wing. Here, there is no bullshit, there is no grift, there is no drama, there is no theorizing, there is no nonsense. Here we do reviews. Here we talk about the movies that we love, whether they are modern, retro, or ultra retro. That's what the Ambassador Wing has been and will always be about. So, and about the occasional rant when myself or another member of the channel is unhappy with a particular issue. The MCU. But tonight is it's a double feature review. And with me this evening, I have a regular here, a ambassador amongst ambassadors. You know him, you love him. I call him my friend, Mr. Zach Larry. Good evening, Zach.
We're back. We're back. Thank you for having me, man.
Glad to have you here, Zach, as always. So, well, double feature review. And
Yeah,
it's
Tony
a pair of good
Scott.
ones.
He's an interesting guy.
Oh, yeah.
He did The Rock with Sean Connery and Nick Cage.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
he's done a few.
Mhm.
He's done a few really good movies, and he did another one called The Fan, which, funny
I
enough, I'm
remember
a
The
fan
Fan.
of. Yes, I'm a fan of The Fan. Wesley Snipes
Yeah.
and is it De Niro?
It is with De Niro. De Niro plays the crazy fanatical fan.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes is the athlete that De Niro is obsessed over. So
I really love The Fan. I hadn't seen it until maybe a couple of years ago. Picked it up at a secondhand DVD place. Loved it. I mean,
I
yeah.
have never honestly seen it. I've seen clips of it, but that's all I've seen. Honestly, it's not necessarily my type of movie, but it's not. From what I understand, it's not a bad movie. It's one of De Niro's better movies. One of Snipes' better movies. So,
well, you might like it, man.
What? The Fan. It's okay.
Okay,
So-
well, maybe I'll send it to you. I have a copy. The Fan is
Okay.
really good. But hey, you like Tony Scott, obviously.
Oh,
Him
yeah.
as a director.
I mean-
what are your thoughts on just him as a director, his style?
I like his style. I mean, the thing you have to remember, he is, if I remember correctly, brother to another very famous and well-respected director, Ridley Scott.
No.
But if I
Is he?
think, I think so. Hang on, let me look this up because I think. Hang on, let me Google it. Are Tony and Ridley Scott.
Hey, we can touch upon this MCU
Related.
stuff if you want to. I see. I got the chat here. So
Yes. No. I don't.
well,
Yeah, I know. I see that too. I'm not worried about. Actually, yes. Tony Scott was a British-born film director and producer. He was the youngest of three brothers, one of whom is fellow film director Ridley Scott. He was born in Northern Shields, uh, Northumberland, England, to parents Jean and Colonel Francis Percy Scott, and he was born in 1944, died in 2012.
Let me comment on this MCU film. We can't leave your guy here hanging. Okay, so let me just say this, and we'll move on.
Honestly, yeah, I can.
Huh?
Fine.
All right. Okay, so the
Fine,
Marvel's total disaster of a film. It seems like it looks like they're going to lose money, which has never happened. Daredevil, Deadpool 3, both looking decent, but it's like the MCU, man, has gone downhill. You're seeing people like I think it was Joss Whedon who attacked Scorsese. So Scorsese has planted his flag in the sand. And I respect him for it, man. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is only going downhill. I thought the Loki finale was okay, but aside from that, man, it was good. Yeah, it was good. The finale was good.
Okay.
So there you go. It's never going to be the same.
About that? Okay.
It's never going to be the same.
No, not really. So, I'm going to put something in the private chat.
All right.
But yeah, unfortunately, Tony Scott is not with us anymore, but we have two of his, I think, better films that we're going to be covering tonight. Let's end channels. Come on.
Am I about to be reprimanded?
So, but yeah, unfortunately, no.
I thought you were going to reprimand me there.
No, just read the chat.
Okay, so
no.
Okay, which one do you want to do first?
So anyway, I'm honestly good with either, but I'm kind of lean more towards Crimson Tide, to be honest with you. But we can do him in the state first if you want to say Crimson Tide for last.
We could do Crimson Tide first. In my opinion, it's the better of the two.
I would agree with that. I mean, I love them both. Don't misunderstand me, but at the same time, Crimson Tide by far my favorite of the pair.
Well, to me, it's such a good dramatic film. It starts off as kind of a slow burn. But even those introductory scenes to me are so captivating, where you meet Captain Ramsey and you meet Denzel's character, and just them getting to know each other. So Denzel's, his position, the dude had gotten like a stomach flu. These guys didn't know each other, and they needed to bring on a last-minute guy. Yeah. So these guys didn't know each other.
No, by no means. I mean, they knew each other through, Ramsey knew Hunter, former CEO, and everything, and they put him on the list for potential replacements for the XO of the Alabama. The thing I found interesting about the opening is we have a snapshot of CNN in the 90s, back when they were actually very respectable. And we have one of their reporters live on a French aircraft carrier, and he's giving a rundown of the situation, which I think was actually a very interesting way to set up the story and the narrative for this movie. I mean, because there is a little bit of real world ramification reference at the beginning and at the end of this movie, because it opens with there are three of the most important men in the world or anything amongst the world superpowers: the president of the United States, the president of the Russian Federation, and the captain of a United States nuclear submarine.
Yeah.
And at the end, you have that reference to the fact that at in I think it was in '96, that was changed to where it's only the president can authorize and launch a nuclear strike. It doesn't fall to the captain or the XO of of American nuclear submarine.
Which is
So
wild. The
that for
film.
me was one of the interesting.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Mhm. No, it's okay. That for me was one of the interesting facets of this movie. The fact that it does tie into some real world um, politics and military issues and so on, but it also sets the stage for the story that's going to take place in the movie itself. So I always
Mhm.
like movies that kind of not blur the lines, but blend the lines between the fictional and the real. And one of the things that Tony Scott did really well with this was having those two pieces of information and having the opening for this movie outline outlined the way he did, because it makes the tension a lot more palpable and a lot more intense, because this movie is almost like a pressure cooker. And I think
Mhm.
it is, as you said, a slow burn, very much so. But the tension is set both externally with the shape of the world as it is within the narrative of this movie, but it's also set internally with the characters, primarily Hunter and Ramsey.
Yeah, well, I like the fact that you bring up the opening sequence, which at face value is not a giant portion of the film, right? But you're right. I mean, it sets
Mhm.
the stage, sets everything up perfectly, where it's even done in a way that's expeditious, where we don't need 10 scenes showing us the conflict. No, it was set up perfectly. And it all plays into the kind of the sense of dread throughout the film and the sense of anxiety throughout the film where, okay, what are the stakes? This is it, nuclear holocaust. So they spell it out for you.
Yes.
And it also makes it real in a way, so that helps. um, Ramsey, man, is one of my favorite Gene Hackman characters. I mean, even the early scenes with him and Hunter, and we'll get to some of the
Yeah.
conflict, which upon rewatching it, I was surprised to see it was only the latter half hour that they're really going at it heavy.
Mhm.
Because I remember that being like the majority of the film. No, it's like the last 35 minutes that that power dynamic is
Mhm.
going back and forth. But them meeting before they even go underwater, to me, is those are some of the great scenes in the film too. Talking about do you think we should have dropped the
Mhm.
bomb on Nagasaki? And he goes, if I believe that,
And
would I be
Hiroshima. Yeah.
he says, if I he said, do you think we were wrong to drop the bomb? And he says, if I thought that, would I be sitting here? And he goes, I like the way you put that, Hunter. And he goes, how'd I put it, sir? Very carefully. So these guys, I mean, you get the sense that Gene
Yeah.
Hackman is kind of a tough guy to work with. He's trying to get under Hunter's skin in a certain way. He's trying to feel him out, and there's a combative nature to him. I
Yes.
feel from the very start.
There is, because here's the thing, and there's a conversation between Hunter and Webs, played by Viggo Mortensen. Kind of a babyface Viggo Mortensen that we're not accustomed to seeing.
Well, he was
One
good
of
in
his
this
most
too.
well-known roles is, of course, oh yeah, he was great in this. But the interesting thing with that scene is, um, Webs is talking to Hunter, and he's like, "You need to take it easy around Ramsey. He's old school. I'm kind of paraphrasing what Webb says to Hunter. He's like, all he has is the Navy and that little rat dog of his, the little Jack Russell. And I won't lie, I love that dog, Bear.
It's a
But he's
great
like,
little
that's
character
all.
thing. That's a great
It is.
character thing.
Very much so. But he's like, all he's got is the Navy and that dog. His wife left him. This is what he's got in his life. This is what he's got going in his life. So he's like, give him some room to feel you out and give him some room to breathe just in general. He's like, or otherwise you're going to have to be watching your back. Because here's the thing. That's Ramsey's boat. That is his own little kingdom, if you want to put it that way.
You could.
And
absolutely.
Yeah.
And he acts like the king of that kingdom.
Yes. I mean, the majority of that crew, when the whole mutiny happens and Ramsey takes back over, they're all like, hey, the captain's back. We're good again. And
yeah, because they've been with him.
The chief of the boat, I think it is. Yeah. Or more. Yeah. This crew is loyal to Ramsey. The closest comparison I could make would be the crew of the Red October and Sean Connery's character, Marco Ramius. Mm-hmm. That's the level of loyalty that the crew of the Alabama has to Ramsey, as it is with the crew and the officers of the Red October to Ramius.
But here's the difference. I think they fear Captain Ramsey. He leads by fear. He leads by intimidation, and he leads by. He's not an inspirational guy. It's like when Hunter informs him of the problems that they're having with morale, he gets on and says, "Listen, you bunch of fucking pussies. If you don't like it, get the fuck off the boat." That's basically what he tells his own crew.
Yes. He's like, war is imminent. Suck it up and do your job. Which I think in that moment is appropriate, because here's the thing. They are on the brink of nuclear war. Now, Hunter, in any other circumstance, if it was just a normal patrol and it wasn't a patrol where they are on the edge of going to nuclear war with Russia or a radicalized faction of Russia, let's put it that way, and that's actually what the context is, then maybe Ramsey would be a little more receiving or accepting of Hunter's recommendation. But in this instance, that's not the case. Ramsey is all business here, and as he should be. And in that particular instance, I don't think Ramsey was in the wrong, but at the same time, neither was necessarily Hunter in the wrong, but he is not accustomed to Ramsey's style of command.
I think Ramsey is a little heartless. Okay, he lacks empathy, which is not a good thing. I don't know if that's is that a positive or negative trait? Because we see both of these guys under heavy stress throughout the film. We see Hunter make the same kind of decisions Ramsey's making. Hunter decides to lock those guys in that leaking section of the boat. So Hunter has to make, similar tough decisions, and he makes them. But Ramsey does it in a way where it's almost like he has no regard for his crew.
I don't know if he doesn't necessarily have no regard for his crew, but here's the reality of Ramsey's position. He is the captain of that boat. He was responsible for every soul on that boat. He was responsible for every death that takes place. But at the same time, I don't think he would waste a life needlessly or without regard or even without any.
Well, that's tricky though, because I would bring up the fire in the kitchen where you had a guy get killed, and he runs the exercise regardless.
But
so
here's the thing.
Crazy? But that's really the question. Is he gung-ho? Is he a cowboy? He thinks he's John Wayne. Is that a problematic point of view to have?
I don't think Ramsey would be perceived that way. I certainly don't perceive him that way. Look, here's the thing. neither in that particular instance, neither Hunter nor Ramsey are wrong in their positions. Ramsey feels that that was the appropriate time to run a missile readiness test while the crew is on edge, while they're distracted, see how they perform under stress.
During an
That's not,
emergency, that's the problem.
yeah, that's, but here's the thing. There's the only person that was out of place from what they were supposed to be doing was Hunter. Everybody else that was fighting that fire could be spared, except for Hunter. Hunter had to be there. He was part of the unit or whatever that deals with on shipboard fires. Everybody else was where they were supposed to be. So Ramsey's mindset in this instance is not careless or reckless. The only difference is he may not have realized that Hunter was there fighting the fire. I mean,
Well, to me, that's
I definitely.
piece of the puzzle with Ramsey. Okay, don't let me cut you off. Finish your thing.
Ramsey is trying to gauge the readiness of his crew. And Ramsey says it very point blank to Hunter in his quarters. You don't fight battles when everything is hunky dory, and that's true. I mean, okay, another example.
That's a good point.
After the mutiny, when Hunter's in charge, and they get attacked by the other renegade Russian sub. They're in the middle of that, and they're trying to get this emergency action message from the stateside military to find out what exactly they're supposed to be doing. They're trying to repair that equipment because it's been damaged. They're also trying to fight the Russian sub. That puts strain on everybody. So here's the thing. You want a crew that's going to be able to multitask in a tense situation, whether it is while there's a shipboard fire and they're doing a missile drill, or there is a malfunction on the ship and they're fighting an enemy Russian sub. So for me, Ramsey's mindset and his thinking are in alignment with what a good captain would do. Is it perfectly ideal? No, because Hunter was not where he needed to be at the time of that missile drill. But at the same time, he was where he needed to be to help get that fire extinguished in the galley.
Yeah, okay. But we had a man get killed during that
yes,
fire.
And that is regrettable. I'm not saying it isn't regrettable that crew.
So when Hunter and Ramsey talk about it, Ramsey tells Hunter, he says, it's not the fire that killed that guy. It's his 300 pounds that killed him. It's like, damn. Mm-hmm. But Ramsey, he's stone cold. There's no doubt about it. He's stone cold. He's not your friend. He does. So I don't know. I think he rules by fear. Like, he runs his crew through fear and intimidation, and again, lacks empathy. I mean, when Hunter steps up and runs the sub during the attack, I think for him, that's his greatest moment in the film, because when you watch it for the first time, you say to yourself, can this guy do the job? Because when you watch it, for the first time, you don't think he's going to be able to step in and make it happen. We don't have that confidence in him. We don't. Mm-hmm. The film has set us up to believe this guy's a weak guy in comparison to Ramsey's hard ass, hard edge ways. He steps up, and I think does a really great job when he's running the sub, which is a testament to that character, that he could step in, and get it done. So I think he's the better captain. So that's an interesting question too. I think Hunter's the better captain than Ramsey.
Here's the thing about Hunter. He is of a new breed of captains that are coming up in the Navy. Webs says this to Hunter. You are Annapolis, Harvard, and you are very well educated. You don't have all the experience. I mean, they go through his career profile that he's done thus far, and he does have experience, but he doesn't have necessarily combat experience. And even the crew before they get onto the subs talks about this when after the
Yeah.
briefing with the one older admiral about what exactly is going on with the renegade.
Well, they're talking
Uh,
shit about him. They're talking shit about Hunter.
they're talking a little bit of crap about Hunter, but the thing they're talking about is the fact that Ramsey is one of the few captains that's still in active duty that has seen combat, who has that hard edge, who has developed a bit of a callus over his emotions, or has developed a complete callus over his emotions. That's the difference between Hunter and Ramsey. Hunter is presented as a very well educated, a very tough, physically and mentally um, man. And that's the type of person you want in command of a nuclear submarine. I mean, even at the end of the movie, Ramsey recommends that Hunter get a promotion in his own command at the earliest possible convenience, and Subpac, the committee that's there, agrees to that because they respect Ramsey's opinion so much.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
this very much. Go ahead.
Okay, well, that's a testament to that guy not being a guy who holds a grudge. I mean, it was all business what went down on that
Yes.
sub. And I think
Yes.
both guys get that. It was not a disagreement that they didn't like each other. They had a fundamental difference
No.
on one issue, is what caused this whole thing, is what did the message say? That was the problem. But I will throw
Yes.
I will throw this out there, fun little piece of trivia. The admiral
Okay.
at the end of this movie, same guy who played the
Jason
senator, same guy
Jason
who played,
Robards.
is
Yep.
that him? Played the
Jason Robards.
senator
Yes.
in Enemy of the State.
Yeah. I know of Jason Robards. I've seen him in many movies back in his younger days. When he popped up, when me and Mother Ambassador went to see this in theaters, and he popped up at the end, I'm like, wait a minute. After we got out of the theater, I was like, wasn't that Jason Robards who was playing that one admiral? And she's like, yeah, that was. She's like older, but yeah, that was Jason Robards. I was like,
Does he have a cleft lip? I think he
not
does.
not that I'm
I think
aware
so.
of, but I could be wrong.
I could be wrong too.
So he doesn't talk with any type of lisp, but I think maybe part of the little bit of speech impediment that he does
I
have
think he's got the Joaquin
might be,
Phoenix scar on his lip.
or it could be just a wrinkle. Because
Well,
I don't
for
ever
whatever
remember.
reason, I always thought he had cleft palate. Anyway,
He doesn't talk as like someone who does.
well,
Now, granted,
neither
he
does
may have
Joaquin.
been able to take.
But anyway,
Yeah, that's
not
true.
to derail it.
Yeah.
Not to derail it.
Yeah, that's fine. No, that's fine. But yeah, that was Jason Robards. I've seen movies with Jason Robards back when he was younger. He was a good
He's
actor
good.
back in his day.
I think so
Yeah,
too.
very good.
I think he's good in both of these movies.
Oh
Now,
yeah, definitely. I mean, granted, he doesn't have a very long scene in either movie, but he leaves an impact,
yes,
and that's what a good actor does. And anything, even an actor up in years, because I don't know exactly how old Jason Robards when he did those two roles, but here's the thing:
he's got to be
Crimson
pretty old.
Tide, Crimson Tide came out in 90. When did Crimson Tide come out?
Not
I think it was 90.
93.
Okay, I know Enemy of the State came out in 97.
I'm going to say 93.
It might have been 93 because I was in junior
95.
high. I was getting ready to finish junior high when. Okay, I was in high school, so yeah, Enemy of the State came out I think in 97 maybe, or maybe 98, somewhere along in there. It was I know in the chronology of Will Smith's movies, it was after the first two Men in Blacks. So it might have been 99, maybe. I can't remember. It's been too long. But either way, I mean, Jason Robards, a very storied, well respected actor in his day, and the two roles that he has in these two movies, for the little bit of screen time he had, he kicked ass.
Well,
So,
that's what being a character actor is all about. I mean, he's got two
yes.
great little films on the resume, and
Mhm.
people like him, people respect him, and his character we'll talk about in the next film here, I think, is
Mhm.
even better than this one. You know, as the Admiral, he does a good job. You know, you can tell that he's kind of pissed off. He's like, "What the fuck were you guys doing on there?"
You two have created one. To quote him exactly, you two have created one hell of a mess. But
Yeah,
at the end of it, he's like, there will be no reprimand for Ramsey because he's taking early retirement, and Hunter is getting a promotion. Because, as you said, it was a professional disagreement. It wasn't
yeah.
a personal disagreement between Hunter and Ramsey, and that's the key difference. Ramsey realizes that Ramsey, after the whole situation is resolved, he realizes he was in the wrong. He understands that, and he's man enough to own up to the fact that he was wrong here.
I don't think so. He says he kind of. I mean, it's reaching a little bit to say that, because he goes, "I was wrong about those Lippenzotter stallions."
Retirement rather than trying to. I mean, they were from Portugal, not from,
Yeah,
they were from
but he
Spain,
says
not Portugal.
he says I was
But
wrong.
here's the thing.
And you're like, okay, here it is. He's going to own up to it. Nope.
But here's the thing too. That could also be him talking in code to Hunter.
He might be. You're right. I mean, it's hard to say. It's like a guy like Ramsey is not the guy to apologize. He's not.
Not apologize outright, no, but in his own way, he, I think, was offering a form of an apology to Hunter, because if Hunter was right about the horses, obviously he was, and even I knew this myself because Mother I'm very much a horse aficionado, and she told me about the Lippenzotters when I was a kid. We even got to see a couple of shows in my hometown where they came to perform, and I learned all about that. Yeah, very cool. The thing with Ramsey is this. He is, from all appearances, a very surface level person. There's not much going on beneath the surface of his personality. I think, honestly, there is more to him, but he keeps it very reserved because that's how he thinks. That's how he has conditioned himself to behave in a military structure. That is how probably he has ordered his own personal life, and maybe one of the reasons why his wife divorced him. We don't know for sure. We don't know. I think that line to Hunter from Ramsey about the horses was also about the situation on the boat, on the sub.
Yeah,
I think it was Ramsey's way of saying. Here's the thing: we will never know definitively one way or another unless somebody gets asked Denzel Washington or Gene Hackman about that fact. Denzel Washington has long since moved on to other. Denzel Washington has much moved on to other and better things. And don't get me wrong, this is a great movie. This is one of his earlier, very successful movies. Gene Hackman at this point has retired from acting. He's living the remainder of his years, however many he has left to him, in seclusion or whatever he wants to do, just doing his own thing. And I say to him,
I've got a little bit of Gene Hackman trivia. So Gene Hackman, after retiring from acting, became a Western novelist and has released probably 10 books. So that's pretty cool.
Good for him.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Cool guy. He was recently, there was a TMZ followed him, unfortunately, to the gas station where Gene's out there pumping his own gas, but he looks great. And he's still kicking, but pretty cool that he's still out there working. He's now an author.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, he found something to do productive with his time. That is commendable. I mean, let's be honest here. Gene Hackman has never done, as far as I'm concerned, except for maybe one or two exceptions, a bad movie or put in a bad performance. I would
You're
say, to
right.
the very least, he has not done a bad performance, but he has
No,
been in a couple of stinkers of movies.
I even like
So,
Welcome to Mooseport. Okay, because of
oh,
him.
I'm not talking about Welcome to Mooseport. I love Welcome to Mooseport. I'm talking about the last two Superman sequels, Superman 3 and Superman 4. Look, here's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Here's the thing. Okay, those movies were bad. Yes. Was his performance as Lex Luthor bad? I'd say no, because it's in keeping with the other two performances that he did prior, Superman the movie and Superman 2. His performances as Lex Luthor across the board were always consistently good. No.
He's good, period, like you say. I mean, he's one of the
Yes.
greatest actors of all time. And let's get to the pressure cooker elements of the
Mm-hmm.
film here,
Yes,
as you
absolutely.
so eloquently put it. Is you've
Mm-hmm.
got them, the last 35 minutes of that movie are so
Mm-hmm.
tense, where you've got Gene Hackman. Wow. First of all, let's get to the arrest of Gene Hackman. That, what a fucking great scene. What your thoughts on that scene where Hunter and the other guys, there's a disagreement, and Hunter relieves him of command.
Mm-hmm. Was Hunter in the wrong? Theoretically or practically, no, he wasn't. Because here's the thing: they had orders that were trying to come through, but got cut off during the attack from the renegade Russian sub. They were in a position where they could get to communications depth, but Ramsey was single-minded in his belief that they needed to launch their missiles.
I will give Ramsey one piece of credit, is Ramsey
Sure.
agrees to launch the buoy, which I didn't think he
Yeah,
would say yes, but he says, okay, fine.
yeah, but he almost does it begrudgingly. But yes, he
Yes.
does. He does acquiesce to that request by Hunter.
Which shows he's not 100% locked into his own mindset, which is a
No.
positive. Okay.
Yes, I would agree. I would wholeheartedly agree. But the line that Ramsey crosses is when he says to Hunter, "You read these orders. I will get somebody in here who will."
Mhm.
He can't do that. That's going against Navy regulations across the board. That's Ramsey writing a check that he knows his position, his rank can't cash. You
Well, but he's
can't
right.
just
He's right in the way that he knows, even if he's does something against the book, he can still probably find a way to rally these people behind him. So it's like that's
in a,
abuse of power.
yes, it is very much so, and that's why the chief of the boat backs Hunter. Now,
Mhm.
here's the interesting thing: after Ramsey is removed and taken to his quarters, Hunter goes to the chief of the boat and says, "Thank you," and the chief of the boat goes, "Thank you," and I'll say it here: "Fuck you." Let's get some. Let's get some. Let's get something right, Commander Hunter. You could be wrong, but what Captain Ramsey tried to do was equally wrong. So I backed you because of the book, not because of personal preference or personal sentiment. But Hunter says to him, "Even so, I thank you anyway."
Well, that guy was good too. Captain of the boat. I don't even know that guy, who that
Chief
guy
of the
is.
boat.
Yeah, chief of the boat.
George. Yeah, George Dazenga
He
is
did a
his
great
name.
job in this, and he did. And
Did you ever? You may not have, and that's okay if you didn't. But did you ever watch like the early, like 3 or 4 seasons of Law and Order, the
no,
original Law and Order?
uh-uh.
No, he played a detective on that series, and he was actually really good in it. Um, I can't remember what else he was in, but he's been in some other movies as well, and he was pretty good in those as I recall it. But in this movie, yeah, his performance was spot on. So,
Absolutely. Well, you see the anxiety on this guy's face,
oh
and
yeah,
he's got a tough part. He's a conflicted guy, and you see even like the fear and the regret in the moments where they're sinking down to when the rudders stop working and they're
yeah,
sinking
when the
down towards implosion depth. Great little action sequence there, by the way, where we've got a
yeah,
nice little action submarine battle thing going on. Not the focus of the film, but a good little uh, sequence.
well, here's the thing. This is not a special effects heavy movie, even though it is a submarine movie, which is quite common if you think about it. I mean, even with Hunt for Red October, the setting was more so the interior of the ship. There has not been a movie yet that I'm aware of that has really gotten submarine combat 100% correct, except for maybe Hunt for Red October.
Mhm.
But in this particular instance, the sub battles between the Alabama and the Akula, they were serviceable. Not
I thought it
not
was
great.
badass.
They
Okay.
Okay, in terms of how it was going on inside the interior of the Alabama, yes, that part was very, very
Well,
dynamic.
so
It was very action packed. I'm
I've got
talking
a question
about
for you, though. After
sure.
this, I've got a question for you.
Okay, well, I'm done. Go ahead.
It was Hunter trained as a sub captain. His ability
Mhm.
just to step in and basically he understood the same kind of maneuvers as Ramsey. Is he kind of like the VP of the boat where he's ready to step in? Like say Ramsey had a heart attack. Is that part of his gig?
That's what an executive officer is supposed to do. Yes.
Okay.
If the captain of the boat is incapacitated or he's, taking some downtime for himself or whatever the case may be, that's what the executive officer is intended to do. Okay. Let me put in a context that we can I understand this context, but maybe a illustration would be helpful for you. You're familiar with Star Trek Next Generation,
Hmm.
correct?
Yeah.
Picard and Riker. Same dynamic. If Picard becomes incapacitated or is on leave or is um, off doing something else, Riker steps in and he's the second in command, but in the absence of Picard, he is the head of he is the captain of the ship. It's his command. Same dynamic here with Hunter and Ramsey. Ramsey is the captain, Hunter is the executive officer. That's just his official title, executive officer. It's the
Mhm.
second in command of the whole boat.
Yeah.
That's
Well.
why it has to. That's why it has to be Hunter who um, repeats uh, Ramsey's orders anytime he gives a specific order to the entire crew. That's why it's so important for Hunter to back Ramsey in all of his decisions because Ramsey says it to Hunter very succinctly. These are just boys trained to do a terrible and awful thing, and the only way they're knowing the right thing is to know that when they hear my voice, they hear your voice repeating the same exact order that I just said without hesitation. So, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah. It's a good analogy, and wait until you see this pivot here. This watch how well I layer this in. We've got a Star Trek reference within the film, which is a great
Yeah.
little relationship
Yes.
between Hunter and the radio repair tech.
Yes.
That guy was
Um,
pretty cool too. I like that character.
I can't remember the name of the character, and I just watched this movie the other night.
He was good.
Yeah.
Anybody
Oh,
who
yeah.
saw the movie knows who we're talking about. So
Yeah. Definitely. He's like, you ever watch Star Trek? He's like, yeah, Star Trek USS Enterprise. He's like, he, Captain Kirk calls down to Scotty, and he's like, Scotty, I need more power. I need. He's like, you need more. He's like, I need you to repair this radio. I know it's a shitty gig, but you've got it. Can you handle it? And the guy says, "Aye, aye, Captain," just like Scotty would have.
So good, so good. And that guy was an integral part of this movie. See, that's part of the anxiety too. It's such a well designed movie where all these different little pieces come into
Fosler.
play. Yeah, okay. Well, you've got to have him repair the radio. That's integral to what Hunter's up to, our main character. You've got to have Viggo Mortensen's character, an integral part of this, where it's like, does he open the safe? Doesn't he? And he's kind of flip flops on his opinion on that. And you've got guys like James Gandolfini, who is like almost a thug type part, where he is there solely for the purpose of fuck whatever's going on. We're going to launch, and we got to get Ramsey, and helps assemble. As Ramsey said, another cool scene where he goes to visit Captain Ramsey, and he's like explaining what's going on, and Ramsey says, "Look, this is what I need. Get me a small security force. Go and get into the small arms locker, and I need this guy, I need Viggo, and I need that guy. Go make it happen, come back and see me, and we'll take this fucking boat back over."
Mm-hmm.
But you've got all these little power players within the boat. You've got all these different key characters. So to me, that's cool.
Yeah, it for me, it is as well, because it shows the dedication and the respect and the loyalty that this crew has to this boat. And, well, not so much the boat, but to Ramsey himself. I mean, Ramsey even says it when they're all staying out there in the rain, and he's up on the it's before he goes up onto the platform. He's like, "This might be our Commander-in-Chief's Navy, but this is my boat. My boat. Not the president's, my boat." And he has Cobb do that he's talking about the state of Alabama and the people of Alabama, and they finally go to the park, and they say, "What do we say? Go Bama. Roll Tide."
Well,
so it just kind of reinforces this idea that this is, as you said, Ramsey's own little kingdom.
Well, Captain Ramsey, man, is such a colorful part for Gene Hackman, and it's so memorable to me. And I saw the film for the first time years ago, and the film Crimson Tide has stuck with me for a long time because it's got great dialogue, and films like this, to me, are so important because they prove that dialogue can be just as suspenseful as action. Okay, we have guns in this, no doubt about it. But when you see these two guys face to face, and you see the sweat, and you see them getting in each other's face, "I'm the captain of this fucking boat, shut the fuck up," and they're going at it.
Give me that GD key.
Give me that fucking. So it's so good. It's so good. And you have them sabotaging each other. And I'll throw this out there at you too. Some of my favorite sequences, and this is a Tony Scott trope. Okay, well, there you have his fingerprints written all over this shit. Is Enemy of the State, The Rock, you name it. Tony Scott loves this, and I love him for this. Is the shots of characters moving from location to location, them running through the boat and going up the steps, and the steam and the music creates such a beautiful suspense. And then you get there, and you've got this great dialogue. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, them running through the boat, man. Some of my favorite shit in the movie.
Well, and the funny thing is, you remember who did the score for this movie?
No.
For Night.
Who?
Hans Zimmer.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's all you gotta say, Hans Zimmer.
That's all you gotta say.
Before he started working with Zack Snyder, this man did some badass scores, and he still has done some good scores or anything in later movies or anything. I mean, Hans Zimmer has never, at least in my opinion, turned in a bad score for a movie.
Never.
they might at times seem a bit redundant, but at the same time, they all sound dynamic. I mean, as the son of a musician, I one of the things that my dad always trained me to do was to tune my ears or to open my ears or anything so that I could catch all the pitch and the fluctuation and all of the little movements in a piece of music. And the score for Crimson Tide, it's very bombastic. It's very pulse pounding, which I think is kind of the idea, because this is a very very energetic and a very tense movie, and the music intensifies that tension. At least for me, it does. And everything. It might
Yeah.
for some of the people too,
Me
but
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so am I crazy, or are some of those scenes awesome of them just going up and down these staircases and going through this with the music going, and they're at each other?
Yes.
You've got these. It's such a cool movie, man. And these guys, they both have their own little small armies within aboard the ship, and you've got loyalty and people breaking each other out because both are locked up at a certain point. Ramsey is locked up, then Ramsey's free. He locks Hunter up, and I mean, it goes towards the idea that in circumstances like what we have within the film, starting nuclear holocaust, to what length would a man be willing to go to do the right thing? And what you see within the film is you've got people who fall down on different sides of that question.
Yes.
It's like, do we protect ourselves? Do we protect ourselves, or do we get confirmation? Which is interesting. That's an interesting question.
Yes.
Anyway.
Well, let's for just a few minutes, let's dig into that question.
Okay.
What would I'll let you go first unless you want me to. What would you do? Hypothetically.
In the same situation. So we receive a communication, right? So same situation with the cutoff message. Yeah, I couldn't launch a nuke, man. I couldn't do it. I couldn't without confirmation. There's no way I could. There's no way. So I side totally with Hunter on this. I would have to get confirmation. And I think Hunter's right. And here's the other thing we got to consider with Ramsey and why I believe he's wrong. Is you have other submarines out there. And Ramsey's concept, his presupposition that I must act in a way where I must assume those other submarines have been disabled, I think is really the wrong mindset to have. So if we've got incorrect information and we launch anyway, we fuck the world up in a really major way. So yeah, I would not launch.
Ferris, and hey Ferris, good to see you, buddy. I would encourage you go to either get your copy or rent it or something. Go watch Crimson Tide.
I've got a recommendation too. Check out Solar Movie, and you can get it on there for free. There you go.
Okay.
I might be sued eventually if they ever get their hands on these. Crimson Tide Studio. Zach, God damn it! Save your money, Ferris. Go to Solar Movie.
Anyway, either way, whichever way you want to go, Ferris, I encourage you to see Crimson Tide. It's a great movie. It's one of Tony Scott's best. It really is. From my position, and this is by no means your solution is no by me, and it does not influence mine by any stretch. But here's the thing. I will parrot Webbs's explanation at one point when he's confronting the other two crewmen that are loyal to Ramsey. When they say, "Aren't you thinking about your family?" He's like, "I am thinking about my family." But he's like, I would rather screw up. He's like, I'd rather. Essentially, what he says is, I would rather us take the time to make sure everything is right than launch and screw up the whole damn world and potentially kill my wife and my kids. I would side with Hunter. I would say to Captain Ramsey, either respectfully or belligerently, you're wrong. You're wrong. Hunter is right. Make sure that this other EAM isn't a countervention of our previous orders or a confirmation of our previous orders. We have the means to figure out what the hell is going on. Let's get it done. We've taken out the other sub. We need to get our communications repaired. Let's give the damn radio crew a chance to do that. And then let's get the EAM that we need to know whether or not we launch or we cancel.
Exactly. Well, here's kind of the scary part is they have kind of removed the responsibility from Captain Ramsey, period. They already sent the launch order without knowing what the fuck they were doing. So at the same time, it reveals, and this is true, this is without a doubt the truth, that the military is oftentimes not acting in coordination with various agencies and various groups within the chain of command. I mean, if we have him getting launch orders, that's a fucking problem. Okay, just to cancel them 20 minutes later, that's a fucking problem. Okay, and that's really a crisis. So in that way, it does remove a little bit of responsibility from Captain Ramsey. But for me, and I told you this, I think yesterday or via message, I can't remember which. When Ramsey became a villain for me is when he threatens to shoot people in this film. And that's when it took a turn, and I said, "Wow, this guy's fucking crazy. He's evil." That's when I thought he was evil.
This is where we're gonna disagree, and I do so respectfully because I don't see Ramsey as a villain. I don't even see him necessarily as evil. Is he being reckless and extremely hasty to the point of threatening his members of his own crew? Yes. Is he a man under immense amount of pressure? Yes, this is also true. And I think we can both attest to this. People under pressure, man or woman, either way, when they're put under immense amounts of pressure, they will not think rationally. I don't think Ramsey was thinking rationally in that moment when he threatens to shoot Webs, and then he threatens to shoot that petty officer.
Yeah,
Hilaire, I think
that shit's undefendable. You know.
No, and here's the thing. I agree. I agree with you. But does it make Ramsey evil?
I think it does because he's sitting there and he's pointing the gun at Webbs, and he goes, "I can't shoot you. You're the only guy who knows the combination." But private, whatever, and he sticks the gun in his face. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I mean, come on. That's so you again, okay. So I don't know if we can say he's evil, but there's a shade of evil in him for sure. There's a shade of bloodthirst within him, a shade of control, a shade of really negative psychology, pathology.
Let's call it an illusion of evil, but not actual evil. Because here's the thing: I don't think Ramsey would have actually pulled the trigger. I really don't. Would he have threatened? Sure. Would he excessively threatened? Sure.
Okay.
But I think he also knows his crew. Let me get this out real quick. I think he also knows well enough. It's okay. He knows his crew well enough to know how far he can push them. I think what he did deliberately, but he knew that would be enough to push Webbs to break. Because Webbs would not allow one of his own crewmates, not to mention one of his subordinates, to get killed.
But dude, even to break a man like
So,
that,
go ahead.
which is, I think you described it perfectly. He breaks Weps in that scene. That's not right. That's not right. That's removing his
No,
autonomy. That's not right. That's not right. That's evil. That's corrupt. So I don't know if I would call him evil. I know I did, but there's a touch of evil in him. Okay, there is. There's no doubt about it. There's shades of darkness within this guy. And to me, it's concerning. Is this the guy I want captaining a nuclear sub? Not at all. I think he's creepy. He's scary. He's a scary guy, man.
Zach, here's the thing. Neither one of us have served in the military. We do not know the stress and strain that it can put on a person psychologically, emotionally, and even physically. Now, I've got friends and I've got family who either served in the military or served in law enforcement. Those are exceedingly stressful careers and jobs to be in. It can wear on you after so many years. Here's the thing with the situation Ramsey is in, and Hunter is in, and everybody on that ship is in. They have the belief that this radical Russian official, Rachenko, has the intention of launching a set of nuclear weapons that him and his fellow rebels have captured on the Soviet Union and on the United States.
Who, by the way, we never see in the film, which I think is also a nice touch.
We see him in video clips, in news reports, and so on, but we never see him in person. Very true. But here's the thing.
Makes it real.
Up until that point, and they put this in a real... Yes. But here's the thing that makes it even more real. They put this in the context of the Cuban Missile Crisis from the 1960s. In this movie, the United States military is at its highest set of readiness that it has not been at for almost 20 some odd years, or 30 some odd years, from the 1960s to the 1990s, if this is set in real world time, essentially. That is putting a lot of pressure on everyone on that boat, and just everybody within the United States military in general. It is a exceedingly tense, and it would cause any person, even you or me, to act irrationally. So was Ramsey wrong?
I don't know. I don't know about that. You can't throw us in there like that, because I don't know if we would have acted in that fashion. See, that goes
here's
to,
the thing.
It also goes to the ego of man, okay, which is a highly interesting concept. The ego of man to say I'm right or I'm wrong, and man, something Oppenheimer talks about, man having the ability to kill millions. Okay, is that the responsibility of a few men to make that choice? So look, the film's great, man. It's intriguing. We've had a great conversation about it. Look, I hold the film in very high regard, and it's been a favorite of mine. You could even say, maybe top 25 for me. It's one of my favorite films, and if you got more to say about it,
30.
top 30, okay. But I pretty
top
much
30 for me.
The dialogue is great. The confrontation scenes are great. Those two guys in the same room, man, Denzel and Gene, fucking captivating. It is. Those two guys together having problems. Really great.
The final thing I'll say about Crimson Tide before we move on to Enemy of the State. It paints a picture for the stress and the strain that our military is under almost every day, from varying perspectives and degrees. Is it a great fictional story? Oh, yeah, it is. But the thing that Tony Scott did with this movie, it painted us a picture of just how stressful it is to be in the military. It is not glorious or glamorous by any stretch. It is, by all degrees, one of the toughest and most demanding careers that a person can go into, and it takes a special breed for a person to do it. And for them to portray this so well with these performances is a testament to Gene Hackman and to Denzel Washington and to the rest of the crew. So
There's not a bad
that's my
performance in the film. There's not a bad performance in the whole film. I mean, well, let me ask
none
you about
whatsoever.
this. Let me throw one
Mhm.
more thing out about it. Okay, so when you have
Mhm.
it's got kind of an antiquated look to it. Okay, you can tell me if that's fair or not. There's not a lot of fancy camera work. You've got the text laying out every location. Is that retro, or do you think it works?
I would say it's definitely retro because here's the thing. But at the same time, it does harken back to other movies because here's the thing. There is a whole genre or a subgenre of military movie known as the sub movie. They even talk about it and everything during the movie when they're on the bus waiting to go to the sub. When they're talking about enemy below and run silent, run deep, and I think they even make reference to Das Boot. So this is submarine movies are their own sub, no pun intended, their own subgenre of military film, and they all
Yeah.
have their own type of film language and everything, and
Hmm.
having the type out of the time, the date, the location that they're in, and so on. It's common, at least among more modern submarine movies like like with Crimson Tide or Hunt for Red October or U-571 or any of the newer sub movies that have come out over the last several years or even The Widowmaker with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, well, it's a
So
it's a Tony Scott thing where he does the
yes,
exact same thing in Enemy of the State. So we'll get
yeah,
to that.
that's true.
Let me give me a couple minutes here, and we'll get into it.
Okay. So, while he's getting himself turned around, I'll just share a few. I'll just share a few thoughts on some things. You know, you might for those of you that catch these on the replay, with Last Action Hero or this stream tonight or with oh for peace sakes, Virtuosity. You might ask yourself, Ambassador, why these movies? Why no sequel November? One, it plays off the term no nut November. So, but these movies are all standalones. They're all from the 1990s. For me, they are a snapshot of good filmmaking from the 90s from some either well known or not so well known directors. In this instance, with this stream tonight, we're discussing a pair of Tony Scott films, a director just about everybody knows. These videos may or may not do exceedingly well, but you know what? I go my own way. I don't follow the algorithm. I never really have followed the algorithm. Maybe to my own detriment. But here is the thing, and most of you know this about me by now, and if you don't, well, here's a snapshot of my mentality. I would rather talk about movies that I enjoy and films that I have watched and have had a chance to really delve into and enjoy rather than talk about movie news. Now, I have done it on occasion. You all know this. But for me, movie news is something that comes and goes. It isn't something that stays. One headline replaces another, and another, and another, and another. It's an endless cycle. You're constantly chasing the next news story. That to me, and yes, I have done it on here, and yes, I have been a part of other channels that have done it as well. But it isn't my primary focus. You know, I talked when I started this channel 4 years ago now. It was a pop culture channel, but it's still focused primarily on movies and television. And over the years, have I done various other things? Yes, I have. Have I done a few roasts and a few troll videos and so on? Yes, I have. I would be lying and said I haven't because I have, and you can all see it. It's on this channel. But I would rather talk about the things that I enjoy rather than talking about the things that bore me. And to be perfectly blunt but respectful, movie news bores me. Movies and television shows interest me. That's why I've taken this channel in the direction that I have taken it. And that's where this channel will go henceforth. So,
Well,
you back, bud?
yeah, I'm back. So I caught just a couple of things you said. Speculation, man, is not creating anything. Which
No.
not to say that I don't know. I wouldn't have as strong as negative viewpoint as you. I understand where you're coming from, and I think you're right in a lot of ways. But speculation is not creating something, but reviewing something, we add so much context to it. I mean, look at what we just did. An hour on Crimson Tide, breaking down the characters, breaking down the plot line, and it really builds something unique. That's what it's all about. And the great review channels do that.
That for me, it goes to my own mentality. It goes to the things I've enjoyed doing in my life. When I was a kid growing up, me and my buddies or my female friends in school and everything, or in college or whatever, when we weren't didn't have our heads buried in books, we talk about movies, we talk about TV shows, we talk about the cartoons that we watched as kids and everything. And it was a great time. Yeah, it was BSing, but it was fun. I've just taken that concept and expanded it.
I think what you're doing here, though, has its own artistic merit. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what makes it different. It does have its own artistic merit, where it's not. I don't even know if you could say it's reviewing it. I would say you could even go a step further and say it's understanding it, a film, okay, which is not. We could easily get on here and do a 10-minute boilerplate review, but that's not what you're all about.
No, I prefer to dig into a movie and explore all of its aspects rather than just do 10 minutes and be done. Now, I've done reviews like that and everything on older movies, and they were fun and everything when it was just me starting out.
But it's
and I enjoyed those, and they're still up on my channel.
It's a compliment.
No,
it's good. It's good. It's like some of my favorite film channels out there do that. And I'm not going to throw any names out there, but this is one of them where you get on and you break it down.
Yeah. So anyway, Enemy of the State. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, this one we've got a different cast. We've got Will Smith in one of his more serious roles. We've got the return of Gene Hackman in the somewhat very much a different role. We've got John Voight. We've got Lisa Bonet from her off of her stint off of the Cosby Show. I think at this point the Cosby Show had been off the air for at least a few years, and this is one of her few big screen performances.
I always hated Bill Cosby. I was ahead of the curve.
Yeah. You've got Tom Sizemore. He has a couple of I think I would consider it a cameo appearance. He has like 2 scenes at the beginning and end of the movie.
Yeah, but
we got Jason Robards again.
But it's a pivotal little part for Tom. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
Jack
Oh yeah,
Black, we've got
definitely.
Jack Black, Seth Green.
Yeah. Yep. Scott Conn, Jake Busey. Um, hmm, I think those are all
But
the more
that's a
well.
stacked cast. That's a great fucking cast.
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely. Um, Regina King, who plays Will Smith's wife in this movie,
Mhm.
and I'll be honest, his fictional wife in this movie is a hell of a lot better than his real life one.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I'll just get this out of the way off the top. Rewatching it to me, it was
Mhm.
very painful based on Will Smith.
Mhm.
And you mentioned you've already, demonstrated your ability to separate the actor from the character. Man,
Mhm.
I avoid Will Smith like the fucking HIV. Okay, I hate this guy. Okay, I have not seen anything with this guy. I mean, I hate him, dude. I hate Will. I'm not a fan. You could even say I hated him before the controversy because I think he's a weak type actor where he doesn't take a risk. Okay, so I hated him back then. Okay, so after
And
this,
that's fair.
look, a lot of people hate this guy, and the opinions around the Smith family have gone nuclear, and shit has hit the fan, and it's
Yeah.
bad. Okay, so
Yeah.
it was a
True.
little painful watching this, despite it being a great film. But after about 25 minutes or so, I got into the film again. Okay, but it took a while. It was like, God damn it, this
Mhm.
guy. I'm cringing watching him.
Mhm.
That was my experience.
Look,
Rewatching it.
I get. Here's the thing. I didn't get a chance to watch this movie all the way through, but I remember all of it because I've seen enough clips of it and everything, and I know this movie well enough that I watched like the first 15 or 20 minutes, and then I watched the last half hour, give or take, and everything. But I remember everything that happened in between. I remember everything going belly up for Will Smith's character, um, Robert Clayton, Robert Dean, and all of that. So I didn't feel like I was missing out on a whole lot. But the thing for me with this movie is it isn't so much the story itself, it's the premise of the story as the underpinning. The establishment of a surveillance state within the United States. And, and for me, honestly, the most interesting characters, Will Smith isn't even on the board. Not that his character isn't important, but the two most interesting characters for me anyway, even though one of them I absolutely despise, the character,
I
not
think
the
I can
actor,
guess. I can guess.
is John Voight
Mhm.
and Gene Hackman.
Yep. Well,
Those are
I'm
the
with
two
you.
most interesting characters.
So you didn't rewatch the whole thing?
I didn't have time to. I wish I did, but
Okay.
like I said, I remember the story well enough, and I remember all the pertinent scenes well enough that I was like, okay,
I'm
this
not going
is
to give
where
you
this
shit for it.
happened. This
I'm
is
not
where
going to give
this
you shit
happened.
for it. I didn't rewatch Last Action Hero when we did that last night. But I was a
And
little
hey, I'm not gonna give
surprised.
you crap for it.
I was a little surprised upon rewatching Enemy of the State how much of a main character John Voight is. He's got
Oh
1,000
yeah.
scenes. He does. It was really shocking to me because
Hmm.
he's got as much screen time as anybody aside from Will, and you see his point of view. You see the deputy director's point of view throughout the film in a lot of different ways.
Hmm.
You see them putting
Hmm.
him discovering the cameras in his house, him meeting up with Gene Hackman at the end, but you see him dictating to his henchmen what they're going to be doing over and over
Hmm.
again. He's got to have 25 scenes in the film, and I was really surprised.
Here's, I will throw this out to you, and you can either agree or disagree. The title of this movie, Enemy of the State. The enemy of the state is not Will Smith or even Gene Hackman. The enemy of the state is John Voight's character.
I like it. Yeah, I like that.
Think about it. Really think about it.
Well, he's a main
In a
character. See,
way,
it makes sense.
yeah, he is the main antagonist of this movie. He is in every conceivable way. You could theoretically, and I mean this theoretically, you could have cut out all of Will Smith's scenes and his part of this movie, and you could have still had John Voight going up against Gene Hackman's
Yeah,
character.
that might
And
even be
this
better.
movie, and this movie, you might have to do some rewriting, and you might have to do, well, you would definitely have to do some rewriting, and you would definitely have to rearrange or re-edit this movie. But just think about this. Just how pivotal or important is Will Smith's character to this story? It really isn't.
Hmm.
It
Well,
really isn't.
I don't know. It's kind
Okay,
of
let's put it this way.
all right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You could put in a substitute character or plot point that would serve the same purpose for Will Smith's character, Robert Clayton Dean, that would serve the same, that would do probably just as well. And let's be honest here. Of the three main leads, and you said John Voight is a lead, he is. Will Smith is the weakest link.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Will Smith has done some movies in his early career that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the Men in Black movies. I, to varying degrees, like Wild Wild West, even though I do admit that there are lots of parts of it that are cringy as all hell. I will agree to that. But at the same time, as much as I love and respect Tony Scott as a director, and I do, I don't think the idea of casting Will Smith in this movie was necessarily his idea. I think it might have been studio mandated.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. We may never know. Because unfortunately, Tony Scott's no longer with us. But that's just a potential theory. But
yeah, well, you opened my eyes. Number one,
say again, Tony. Stay again, Zach.
To him being related to Ridley Scott comes as really a shock. So I'd appreciate you filling me in on that. I think you've got the right idea here. I mean, Will Smith in this film is not. Well, you make the case really that he's not necessary, which is interesting. Him being the main character. I don't know. To me, the film is kind of an ensemble film where you've got even the guy at the beginning who's got the camera pointed at the dock is kind of an interesting little side character. Is he important? Like, do we need that guy? Maybe not. But it's a fun little character.
Here's the thing. The actor who plays that part is Brandon Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Not in relation to the martial artist Bruce Lee. No, obviously by no stretch.
My Name is Earl guy.
You could have had. Yes. He played Earl. Here's the thing. They could have had his character be in the place of Will Smith's character. But here's the thing, Zach, we did need that character because it's because of his video camera setup that they find out who killed Jason Robards' character, Congressman Bill Hammersley.
Yeah.
So we needed that character to discover that tape and discover that footage. They could have taken Will Smith's character completely out and built a more of a story around Brandon Lee's character at the outset. Show him in his daily life or whatever, show what he does for a living and what have you, and then have him show up after the congressman's murder to the hide to collect his video data, and have one of John Voight's his character's cronies there, and that's where the chase begins.
It's
have
a fun.
Have it be.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Zach.
Well, it's a fun scene, you know. I mean, the chase sequence is a lot of fun, and him running away in the satellites, Jack Black there at the headquarters organizing everything. No, it's a fun sequence. I wanted to ask you about the murder scene, which I think is really a great scene because you've got John Voight.
Sure.
Again, and by the way, I think we can definitively with this review say something nobody else has really said about the film. He's a pivotal character. He's a lead, not just the bad guy. He's got so much screen time in this film. John Voight opens the film. He opens the film. So I got the sense, rewatching the film, that he didn't want to kill the congressman. When the congressman goes to him and says, "Are you threatening me, you ambitious shit?" I didn't get that. He was pleading with, he was trying to save his life. He's like, "I don't want to kill you, man, but I will."
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to kill Hammersley.
Yeah.
He wanted something from him.
I don't think. John Voight's character says, like, "I just want you to allow your staff, your constituents, your fellow congressmen or whatever, or the people that's part of his coalition, to vote whatever way they see fit, not to sway them one way or the other." And that's what John Voight's character is asking of Hammersley. I think you're part way right. I don't think John Voight's character wanted to kill Hammersley.
He didn't. He even says to him, "I beg you not to do this." Yeah. The term "I beg you" is part of the dialogue.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I know. I remember that line very well. Yes.
Up. Hammersley fucked up. He thought he was being blackmailed. That's not what it was, obviously.
Yeah. No. So I do want to just bring up a couple of Ferris's comments here, because it is reference to Emmy of the State. So, do you guys remember the trailer for this movie? The trailer literally says "a powerful man," which refers to John Voight's character, "innocent bystander," which refers to Will Smith's character. Yeah, but here's the thing, Ferris. You take out Will Smith and you keep the innocent man, the innocent bystander, ambiguous. That builds a lot of tension right there. Let's be honest. This was a starring vehicle, a more dramatic role for Will Smith's career, more than it was anything else. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a good movie. It is a good movie.
Yeah.
But I think at least for me and Zach's part, Will Smith's part of this movie is one of the weak links of it, if not the only weak link.
But I didn't hate him in the film. I didn't hate his character or his part.
No, I'm not saying I didn't either. But what I was presenting earlier was just a hypothetical alternative for how this movie could have potentially not needed Will Smith in it. I'm not saying I don't.
Right. I think you're right about that. And I found myself really getting irritated when we had the scenes of them, like Will Smith by himself at dinner. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? It's like, you're wasting my time on some of these with the Will Smith backstory and the romance and the affair. Like, I give a fuck about all that shit when we've got this exciting plot line going on. And by the way, I mean, Gene Hackman Brill, great fucking character. So we've got intrigue.
Oh, yeah.
We've got mystery. We've got murder. It's like, do I really need... So your point is well taken. It's like, do I need to sit and hear Will Smith talk about his affair and have interpersonal issues It's tiresome. It is. So your
Yeah.
point your point's well taken, but I didn't hate him, and I can appreciate the movie for what it is.
Mm.
And I think all of your points are correct. This is a Will Smith vehicle, but it's like the 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 accidental result is a great film, if that makes sense.
Definitely. So, it is, yes. And I'll bring up Ferris's other comment here. Um, since Will Smith is the star of the movie, do you guys think he could have been a decoy and the real protagonist should have been Gene Hackman? I think the tension focused on Hackman and Voight. Yes, Ferris, I think you're on point there with that. Definitely. So,
Yeah, I
you know,
agree, but at least they had a couple of scenes, Hackman and Voight. There's a great scene at the end where Hackman shows up wearing a New York City cop outfit. And to me, that's one of the greatest scenes in the film. Those two guys talking, finally meeting face to face. But they had to scare him out of hiding. Like they put the cameras in his place. They put the cameras in the congressman's place, which put John in a position where he was fucked. You even see John Voight at a meeting where the head of whatever thing it is,
the NSA.
Is saying, who the fuck put this in the congressman's hotel room? And obviously that those devices track back to John Voight. So he was a guy who was about to lose everything anyway. So that made him dangerous, man. And he was even willing to go in personally. He's like, give me a piece there at the end. Dude, John Voight's performance in this is really fucking great. I mean, even the dialogue he goes, at the end, he's like, you and me. The way he says the lines are so good,
John Voight's character in this movie is a very deceptive and underhanded and just very dishonest character. But here's the thing. Who hasn't made the joke that the majority of the people that work for the United States government, whether they are a congressman, a senator, let's just say a politician, or they work for one of the intelligence agencies, or they work for the military, or whatever the case may be, when hasn't the joke been made about at their expense? Well, if you work for the government, you gotta be corrupt.
Yeah, well,
John Voight's character is a perfect personification of that exact idea.
Yeah,
if you work for the government, you're corrupt. This guy, this character is corrupt. He is the enemy of the state.
That's very perceptive. Okay, you're the first guy I've heard state it like that. Okay.
No.
John Voight's character is very interesting. I think they say at one point he's not really a military guy. He's a politician.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's how he got there. So he's a guy who is used to getting away with shit. I find him so fascinating in the film because, look, they even show us his personal life. And we see this guy as being kind of an absent partner to his wife, and we get a sense that he only really cares about his career, and his wife is really there. By the way, played by Skylar White from Breaking Bad, great actress. I forget her name. Oh God, you don't know the wife's name, do you?
Not offhand, no.
Okay, well, she's great. She played Skylar White.
Do you mean? Do you mean the character's the actress's name, or the name of the character's name?
Yeah, the actress who played John Voight's wife.
No,
she's awesome.
I don't know her.
That lady's
Emma she was Gunn. Good in the couple scenes she was in.
Is that her name? Anna Gunn.
There you go.
Anna Gunn.
Anna Gunn. Okay.
Yeah, okay. And she was also in Deadwood.
No, I'm not familiar with her. This is only never saw Deadwood.
Okay. But I mean, look, John Voight, man, is a guy who doesn't really have a fucking heart. I mean, that guy's heartless. That guy's stone fucking cold. Does he care about anything? It's like even seeing him with his granddaughter.
Because look at the way.
Seeing him with his granddaughter is like, Jesus Christ, this guy's got no fucking heart.
Yeah, you're not wrong, because even, here's the thing. There are good grandparents and there are bad grandparents, but even, here's the thing. Okay, I'll give you a personal example. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, my mom's mother, she could be at times very difficult to get along with and also live with. But at the same time, she was a very loving, a very caring, a very considerate person. Though she had her moments where she would get frustrated, but anybody does. But I would categorize her amongst my grandparents sets I had, my maternal and my paternal. Granted, I didn't get to know my grandfather on my mom's side and everything because he passed away when I was young. But my grandmother, while she could be a bit gruff at times, I knew she loved me. Yeah. John Voight, his character as a grandfather, he was a complete and total ass. And yeah, the granddaughter was acting a bit rambunctious, but at her age, she would be. She would be clicking through the channels with the remote, and she would be jumping up and down on the couch and everything.
Yeah,
that's what a toddler does, and that's, I think, about around her age. She's a toddler, or at least 4 or 5 years old.
Well, that made John Voight's character even more disturbing because you got the sense that he had no connection to her at all.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, wow.
She probably had more connection with her grandmother than she did with her grandfather.
With the remote. With the fucking remote. I got the sense from that scene that John Voight had no connection with his own granddaughter. And that's creepy. That's creepy. So that illustrates to me that the character is a sociopath. What is the purpose of that scene other than to illustrate that to the audience?
I don't know if I would categorize him as just an absolute sociopath, but I would say that he has somewhat sociopathic tendencies, but he is not a full-blown sociopath.
He killed a guy. What do you mean? He killed a guy at the top of the film.
Yes, he did.
And shot a guy. Shot Gene Hackman.
Yes.
He's a sociopath.
Here's the thing. I'm not saying that by any means is he mentally disturbed or that he is a sociopath. Does he have a very cold demeanor? Is he a very single-minded individual? Yes. But does that make him a sociopath? No. Because here's the thing. I took a few courses in college and everything, very basic psychology courses in college. Nothing that would make me a complete total expert. But here's the thing. I know enough to know how a sociopath would potentially behave in a real world or a fictional setting. John Voight's character does not strike me as a sociopath. Christian Bale's character in American Psycho strikes me very much as a sociopath.
Psychopath.
Or psychopath or sociopath. Or
psychopath in his case. But here, I mean, the point I'm making is John Voight whacking Hammersley at the top of the film.
Yes.
That's not the first time that's happened with him.
No, probably it hasn't. But does it make him sociopathic? No. Does it make him very cold-blooded? Oh, yes.
Well, I mean, to have no regard for human life is a problem. You know what I mean? That shows that guy is a creepy weirdo of a guy. You know, he's not a normal person.
That I would agree to. But here's the thing. You or I, hypothetically speaking, would do within us have the potential capacity to take a life. But the difference is we would only do it to the utmost end when we have no other recourse.
Right.
John Voight's character in this movie, he had potentially other ways of getting around Hammerly's vote or his influence over his constituents or over his staff or over other Congress people that were part of his delegation that were against this communications or surveillance bill. John Voight was, in his mind, his character was acting what he felt was in the best interest of the United States government. Now, was he also a
No, I
man
disagree.
who was
No,
after his own?
No, he was acting in his own self-interest. He didn't give a fuck about the government at large.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Well, here's the thing. I think it's a both and. It doesn't have to be either or. Does he believe that there are threats to the United States and the government from within the United States? Yes, he does. Do I believe he's after his own degree of power within the NSA, the National Security Agency? Yes, he is. Very much so. He may even have his eye on the lead position.
Yeah.
And heaven help us if that had happened.
He's a climber. He's a climber. He's a careerist. But it's disturbing because I think there's truth. So. There's not only is there truth to the character, I think there's truth to the performance. Where that's a real guy. I think we do have people like that within the government who have no regard for other people. You know, you make a good point, but see, here you are playing devil's advocate.
That honestly goes with that
thing. But see, it's like here you're playing devil's advocate.
I don't know if I'm that same.
You are. Because John Voight is, if I could call Captain Ramsey evil, what does that make John Voight? And you mentioned the thing where we all have the capacity to do negative shit, but you and I haven't. Okay, and I bet you
granted, yes,
we've both been in a position where we probably could have made the wrong choice or done something negative, right? Punched a guy or done whatever. Okay, but we don't do that because we have empathy and we have self-restraint. Okay, but a guy like John Voight, and why I call him a sociopath is because that's a character who doesn't have normal human emotion. That's what makes him a sociopath.
That I would agree with. Okay, in that instance, yes, I would agree with you. John Voight's character is a sociopath, but is he, as I said, a full one? No.
You could play that part, like you could give a different actor John Voight's lines and have the character wince as Hammerly's getting killed and kind of look away or be disturbed by his own actions. This guy doesn't give a fuck. And not only that, he doesn't care about his own grandchild. I don't think he'd give a fuck if she got hit by a car. Give her the Stephen King treatment. Give her the Pet Cemetery treatment. John Voight would not give a fuck.
And his character in that particular instance, yeah, I think you're right. Look,
all right, but I like where you're going with
trying
this.
to be.
It's very intriguing to me that you picked John Voight as a focus of this, and I respect it. Nobody else sees this guy as a main character. Everybody would be talking about Will Smith.
Because here's the thing.
I'm so intrigued.
Okay,
you brushed him aside like that.
Well, look, here's the thing. With Will Smith in this movie, is his character marginally interesting? Yes. Because here's the thing. He is the one that has his whole life turned upside down. But the Wither Twos and the Wife Wars he had his life turned upside down are seemingly inconsequential to the broader story here. What you saying? Okay. No problem, Zach. Before I go any further, I will touch upon your comments here, Ferris, and everything while Zach is away. Let's see. Favorite action scenes. I love the first chase scene where the guy has a videotape copy running from the agents, which is handed to Will Smith's character, and the guy died getting crushed by a fire truck. Yeah, that was pretty horrific. And I was like, hmm. And okay, you're coming here. It wouldn't have been a 90s movie without a 90s line when a woman on the street says, a guy got on a bike got creamed. Ferris, yeah, you're not wrong on either of those points. I mean, here's the thing. And I'll touch upon this briefly even while Zach's gone. If I have to repeat myself, it's fine. Will Smith's character is not the driving force of this film. Not by any stretch. He is almost... I mean, the whole thing, yeah, you feel for him, you empathize with him because his whole life has been turned upside down. His finances are in disarray. He's had to flee from his own home. He's been separated from his wife and his son. He's been fired or put on suspended leave from his job. His whole life has been turned topsy-turvy because of some bureaucratic asshole from the NSA suspecting that he knows more than he actually does, when in fact he doesn't know until much later on exactly what the hell's going on with him. Until he meets Gene Hackman's character Brill, he doesn't have the faintest damn idea about what's on that piece of video recording equipment, what's on that disc, or anything else. He is almost like, oh, for heaven's sakes. I think it's Jimmy Stewart, or it's Cary Grant in the old Hitchcock movie, The Man Who Knew Too Much. Except in this case, Will Smith is not the man who knew too much. He is the man that knows next to nothing.
The man who knew too little.
Yes. Also, I think, at least in my opinion, a very underrated Bill Murray movie.
Never saw it.
Oh,
love Bill. I do love Bill.
You would enjoy The Man Who Knew Too Little. I'll send you a clip of it later. It is a very underrated, somewhat obscure 90s film. It stars obviously Bill Murray, and it's a bit of a spoof of the spy genre.
I thought it starred Joe Biden. That fucking moron.
I agree with you, but at the same time, I can laugh.
Did you ever see that clip? I'm so sorry. Did you ever see that clip where they say, hey, Joe, could you describe America in one word? And he goes, that was his answer.
Gibberish. Yeah, I know. That? I have, yes. Oh, yeah. I've seen that clip. Absolutely.
God. The Man Who Knew Too Little is Joe Biden.
Well, also, The Man Who Knew Too Little is the title of a movie starring Bill Murray, which I actually very much enjoy, and I think you would too.
Okay.
It's, like I said, I'll send you a clip of it later. It's kind of screwball, but it's quintessential Bill Murray, and I think one of his lesser known roles, but it's a really good role. I mean, I've seen that movie numerous times. It's been a while since I have seen it, but it's hilarious. So, but anyway, getting back into Enemy of the State.
Yeah. Brill. I think we got to talk about Gene Hackman.
Oh yeah, we got to. And so Let's dig into Brill. Let's dig into Gene again.
That's my favorite character in the film. Okay, the character of Brill is so intriguing. They introduce him perfectly, and I had, again, it goes back to the way you remember a film. I had remembered Gene Hackman being present throughout the whole film, but it turns out Gene Hackman shows up about the latter 50 minutes of the film, and we first
like
see
halfway.
Not even. I think towards the end, really.
He okay, after Robert goes on the run and he's trying to track down Brill, and I don't remember exactly where him and Brill cross paths.
I'll tell you. All right, I'll fill you in.
Brill is standing in a crowd or something, and he mouths the words. He mouths the words "F you," and that clues Robert in on. Oh, this must be Brill. So okay, where is he running into him? Because I honestly don't remember.
All right, so Robert goes on the ferry. He's filled in by Rebecca. Is that the side piece? Right, Rebecca.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, who gets killed? They try to frame Robert for her death. They put like his cufflinks in the apartment and shit. That character gets killed, and she had told him where to find Brill, like where the dead drops are made. It's on the ferry. So he goes to the ferry and he gets off the ferry. Brill doesn't show up, but Will Smith meets a guy who is one of Jon Voight's guys, who calls himself Brill. So you're thinking when you first see the film, like, this guy must be Brill, and he's trying to extract information from Will Smith. Brill is chasing them in a truck, and that's the first time you see him. Is the truck, after the truck, they get into an accident and everything. The guy tries to shoot Will. He gets out, but before that, the truck passes and he gets a little glimpse of Gene Hackman. And then later, you're thinking of where he says "fuck you" is at the hotel, where he's calling his wife.
Okay.
And he looks over, and Gene Hackman shows up and looks over at him and goes, "Fuck you, mouse, fuck you" to him, and then pulls a gun on him and puts him in the elevator. And that's a great scene too, where he's going shh, as Will Smith is trying to talk to him, and he's just taking out these bugs that are everywhere. He's got one in his shoe. He's got a watch in his pen. In his jacket. Another great scene there. And by the way, what a smart character. Even when they're trying to figure out who Brill is, they've got the satellite footage and they're all sitting there, and Jon Voight's like, "Who the fuck is that?" And they go, "He never looks up. He never looks up." He's mysterious, man. He's mysterious. He doesn't look. He's intriguing as fuck. And then we realize he's a guy named Edward something.
Lyle. Edward Lyle. Edward Lyle.
Yes, and he's a former NSA guy who invented that shit. Some of that shit.
Oh yeah. You know, the thing about Brill's character that I really enjoyed, he is very much a hard ass. He is very much a loner, because he has learned that it is safer to be on your own, particularly when you are a man that knows as much as he does and is as dangerous as he is. Because this is okay, I will say it. There is one or two good lines in this movie that Will Smith's character says. When he says to Brill, "You are a dangerous man," that to me is a good line. Yes, it's a rather simplistic line, but it's an acknowledgement of the fact that Brill, while he might be a little up in years, this is just as sharp as it was when he was part of the NSA. Absolutely. And he knows all the tricks of the trade, and he knows how to turn the tricks of the trade on the other guys.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. He runs rings around all those young little books and everything. They're trying to weasel their way into the NSA. Brill owns every single one of them. Even when he's been captured, he's already figuring a way out of that situation.
Well, he's an unpredictable character. It's like even at the end where he's talking to John
Yes.
Voight and he's making up this bullshit about I want 2.8 million. You're thinking to yourself, wow, he's actually about to betray Will here in this scene. It's presented in such a way where he doesn't
Mhm.
give a fuck about Will. I mean, but he's not as coarse as Captain Ramsey from our previous film
Mhm.
here. He's an asshole, but he gets there's a little humanization where they're in the car together and he's like, I have low blood sugar. Okay, I get cranky. So there is humanization.
Hypoglycemia.
Yeah, and Will goes, let's
Yes.
get something to eat, and he goes, that's a great idea. And so no, I love Brill, and I think that's a
And then
great
there's
character.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
like I said, I'm not trying to necessarily sweep Will Smith's character completely aside because he does have a few good moments in this movie, but John
him
Voight
with
and
the
Gene
Chinese,
Hackman.
him with the
eh,
Chinese couple. That might be the best scene with him.
mhm.
Do you
Oh
remember
yeah, definitely.
that? Where he comes in
Um,
to the hotel and you got the Chinese lady?
mhm. Oh yeah, I know the scene you're talking about. Um, I think for me, one of the best scenes is where they're actually they go to the electronics store, like the Radio Shack or whatever it is, and um there's some confusion because Brill calls the one guy. He thinks Robert thinks Brill called the one guy Bill, and he's like, "No, your name's Bill." He's like, "Well, you need to tell me this." He's like, "I just did. You need to catch on, lawyer. You don't have a whole lot of street smarts." And that's not necessarily untrue. You know, they present Will Smith's character Robert Dean as a very put together or very well respected labor lawyer, and just as a lawyer, you have to be smart. Obviously, you have to have a lot of brains up here. But
Or charisma.
well,
I,
he
I
is a
think
bit out of his depth.
the Will Smith
Go
character
ahead.
as a lawyer, I could see being a good lawyer because he's got the charisma.
Yes, very, very much so. I would agree with that. But in terms of street smarts, well, he's dumb as a sack of hammers.
Yeah, he's got no clue. He catches
But this
on.
is my take anyway.
No, you're right, but he does catch on.
Yes.
Where Brill kind of fills him
Mhm.
in on the surveillance state, and you see him at certain points, like in the back of the car with his kids, don't turn around, and he calls off the van.
Mm-hmm.
So he does catch on a little bit. So at the end, he's a little bit more formidable than he was at the beginning, which, I guess, I mean, neither one of us
Yeah.
are really
That,
super supportive of his character, but he does have an arc where he does become more attuned.
he does. Yeah. Yeah, he does definitely have a more. I think when the moments that his character turns for me, at least, is when he meets up with Brill and he starts to learn. He starts to learn by osmosis and exposure how to function in the type of situation that he's in. Because let's be honest, before he meets Brill, he's like a oh, let's see. What's a good one? He is like a squirrel with epilepsy chasing after a string of Christmas tree lights.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how
I mean,
uncoordinated and unwieldy he absolutely is.
well,
I
the
mean,
character is funny too because there's a scene at the end where Brill goes, he's telling him about the equipment. And he goes, when this happens, when that happens, I'll give you the signal. And he goes, you got that?
mhm.
And Will Smith goes, no.
Yeah, he's like, just pay attention.
You're
But yeah,
either incredibly smart or incredibly stupid.
incredibly stupid. He's like, we're about to find out.
Brill
Here's the
was
thing: very few people could walk it.
sorry. I don't mean to keep cutting you off. I think we do have
Say again.
a small delay here. I think, but
Yeah.
Brill was a fucking genius. I mean, even him getting out of the van to fake vomit with the cop outfit, he's signaling the FBI. Every move that guy makes is really a genius move.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Here is the thing. Brill is trying to teach Robert how to survive in the world as it now exists and where it might exist in the future, for all we know. And Robert starts to listen. He's like, okay, this guy isn't just some crackpot. This guy actually knows what the hell he's talking about, what the hell he's doing. And he starts to pick up and he starts to acclimate himself to the situation he's in, to act more measured, to be more calm and clear-headed, which as a lawyer, you have to be able to do. You cannot allow your emotions to rule you. Everything when you're in a courtroom setting or when you're in a high pressure situation like Robert is in this movie and in this situation in general. And about around the time when Brill intercepts Robert and he is like, okay, this is what's going on. This is what we need to do. Here's what you need to do. You need to follow suit and listen to me. Robert doesn't give him a whole lot of pushback or a whole lot of issue and anything. Far from it. He's like, okay, I'm out of my depth here. This guy will keep me alive and hopefully help me figure out what the hell is going on. And in the end, Robert becomes an asset because this is what I was going to start to say a minute ago. He is probably one of the few guys that could walk into an Italian-owned restaurant that is actually owned by the mob and actually be able to walk out in one piece without being beat to a blade pulp or shot outright.
Well, he's got the same kind of. You could attribute there's a great line in Better Call Saul, which is the Breaking Bad spinoff, where the cartel head goes to Saul and tells him, "You've got some mouth on you." I think Robert does too. I mean, that's a guy who went in there. You're right. It's really amazing he wasn't killed in his first meeting with Tom.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. While I do kind of brush Will Smith's character to the side, did he have further potential as a good character in this movie? Sure, he did. I think maybe if his character had been written a little bit different, or even if Will Smith had portrayed him a bit differently, I think his character would have worked much better. But for the most part, this movie, he works just fine.
Well, it's the thing where Will Smith is playing Will Smith. Okay, and that's why I don't like guys like this.
Speaking, yes. No.
Anyway, if you're getting tired, we could call it. Yeah, I just got to be late over there.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay so far. So okay. we can go for a little bit yet. Everything is in terms of enemy of the state. Is there anything else you want to touch upon that we haven't?
Yeah, there is a scene. I love the scene where Brill hijacks a car. Okay. And Brill walks out with the shotgun and just fires the shotgun off and gets the guy out of it. Get out of the fucking car. And just that to me might be the best scene in the film. I mean, it was so fun.
For me, that's That is a good scene because it leads to a really good line when Robert makes the comment, "This is a really nice car," and Brill's like, "It's a piece of shit." And you look at that car; that car is by no means a piece of shit. Is it the greatest car ever? But no, it's not. But it's not a bad looking car. But the reason
And
he
then
says that,
he goes, I'm just cranky.
my blood sugar gets too low, I get cranky. He's like, "Well, then we better eat."
I've been there.
And they go to the. I have too. And they go to the diner and they have this really cool conversation talking about the situation that he's in and where Brill fits into all of this and everything that has happened thus far. And it's a nice little mid-movie recap, in a manner of speaking, but it also gives you a bit of more insight into Brill himself as a character and also into Robert as well.
Well, he's
I
forthcoming
would,
about himself, which is
yes.
unexpected.
Well, I think he's forthcoming to people that he feels he can either trust or know that they can't really do him any harm. And I think he believes that either A, Robert is someone that he can trust, or B, he knows that Robert can't do him any real harm. But that's just my thinking.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're right. Um, his
So,
character to me is kind of fundamental to the film. It's like even him
well, yeah.
taking Will to this abandoned factory, basically, and he's got his
Mm-hmm.
little office in a cage. Badass, And he from there he hacks into different
Mm-hmm.
people's. Uh, I think at one point it might not be that scene, but at one point he even hacks into phone lines. So he's a bad
Mm,
motherfucker, man. He's dangerous. He does. At one point in the film, he hacks into either the congressman or John Voight's phone.
yeah, it's his,
So anyway,
it's
and he's got
the
Gene Hackman in the other
the
film.
Congress.
In Crimson Tide, he had the dog. In this one, he's got the cat.
Yeah, I will say I like both equally. They're both cute, and I appreciate the fact that he had a pet in both.
The place is
So
blown up, and his line is "Get the cat."
mm-hmm. Because to him, that cat's more valuable than all that equipment in that bunker ever would be, and justifiably so. So, well, any okay. We scored Crimson Tide, or well, okay, we didn't actually score Crimson Tide. So let's go ahead before we start wrapping up. Let's score both of these movies in terms of Crimson
Okay.
Tide and Enemy of the State. So, whichever one you'd rather do first.
Crimson Tide for me is a top film. Okay. I, I for me
Okay.
it's an 8, at least an 8. I'm going to say 8.7.
Okay. And Crimson and Enemy of the State.
Yeah, for me, Enemy of the State, well worth watching. It's a good time. You've got interesting characters. We talked about John Voight more so than I expected. Great fucking character, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
Your concept is genius about that, by the way. Brill, great character. You've got great characters in this. Enemy of the State, like you say,
Yes.
you've got applicable applications to the storyline back then as to now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important. It makes sense. I think a lot of the shit they were talking about then is as poignant now as ever before.
Oh yes.
That
definitely.
being said, it's got problems, and it's got some boring parts to it. For me, it's probably a 7-1.
Okay. All right. Well, my score with Crimson Tide, and this is me being exceedingly fair, but I think it's justified, at least from my perspective. is Crimson Tide is a 9.1. So it is that good. So as for Enemy of the State, I would think. I'm going to go with a 7.2 out of 10 for Enemy of the State. But my biggest reduction, honestly, is one performance. And one performance only.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Will Smith. Yep.
God, I hate him as a guy. I do.
Here's the thing. Yes, there are parts of his personality that can actually cause you to hate him as a person. I agree wholeheartedly. But at the same time, he did not plan on, at least I don't think he did, marrying the person that he did and her turning out to be the way she did. It just happened. Well, it didn't just happen. But at the same time, he should have known better, and he doesn't.
You can't blame her for his conduct.
No. I would definitely blame her, or I would blame her for his conduct.
You can't.
But I would also blame him for his own conduct. Okay, I see what you're saying now. Yes, I would absolutely blame him for his conduct, but at the same time, he put himself in that position by marrying her. That was his choice. That was his decision. No one twisted his arm to marry Jada Pinkett.
They just did a documentary on
that. He made that decision on his own, pretty much.
Well, there's a YouTube documentary on the both of them, and Will Smith pursued her.
But at the
same time, was married. Okay, number one. Number two. During the marriage, Will and Jada both agreed that she didn't want to get married. He's fucking stupid. He knew that she wanted an open marriage from day one. Married her regardless.
Yeah.
Look, the dirt's out there about him, but this stream is not about that. But that fucking
obviously
guy, to me, is a goofball. He's a goofy guy, man. He's a goofball to me.
Yeah. Like I said, this movie, its issues are evident, and the issues are primarily around Will Smith and his character. That's why I gave it a 7.1, because there are a lot more stronger performances from both. I gave it a 7.2. That's right. Yeah. I gave it a 7.2 because of all the other strong performances and some of the strong performances from some of the side characters and the side actors, like Tom Sizemore and Jack Black and Seth Green and Scott Conn and Jake Busey and all of them. They did good. Even though they were side characters, they were really interesting and intriguing side characters. So that, and the biggest chunk of the plot of the movie is well put together. So that's why I scored it the way I did.
Yeah, we're on the same page. 7.1 and a 7.2.
Yep. So, anyway.
But hey,
any final thoughts, my friend?
Yeah. A lot of fun. I've been dying to do this one. Two great films, and again, we talked about the problem with Enemy of the State. Despite that, it's still, to me, a must see. I mean, if you're a film person, you've got to see Enemy of the State. It's well made. So we got
yeah.
Will Smith, like you said, you got some problems around Will. It's a well put together film. You've got Brill and Thomas. Who's John Voight? Thomas something. Uh,
Yeah, Thomas, I can't remember his name.
Richards, Thomas Reynolds, something like that. Anyway, you got great performances throughout the film. David Zavitz, that guy's awesome at the beginning. And it's a good time. That's another thing.
Oh, yeah.
We mentioned this last night. These two films are a good time. You don't have to commit to 10 films. You just come in, you have fun, you eat some popcorn, you have a good time. That's what it is. So these are our popcorn films. Come in, have a good time, and that's it.
Yeah. Exactly. So, as for me, last 3 reviews, these last 3 streams, with Virtuosity and now tonight with Crimson Tide ending his state, it felt good to go back to a decade of films that really were entertaining for me, that were a change of pace for me, and either introduce or reintroduce me to some actors that I really had not seen in a while and I missed seeing. And, between Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman, John Voight, and even Will Smith, and all the supporting casts for all these movies, you could not go wrong. Except for one casting, and that's Will Smith. But that's kind of a mixed bag, at least from my perspective. He's not exactly all bad, but he's not exactly all come together a top performing leading man in terms of film. But these films, I think, hold a special place for everybody because they were very much a product of their time. They were a product of the 90s. Yes, 2 of them are action. Well, all 3 of them are action movies. But one is very much an espionage film. And I think that's also a lot of fun because I love a good spy movie. I have been, always will be a Bond fan, even though I haven't seen anything past Skyfall. I've wanted to, I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But Enemy of the State, I think, is a good espionage film. Does it have issues? Sure, but that we've already stated that point.
You ever seen?
It is a good spy thriller. Huh?
You ever seen Tinker Tailor Soldier
Say again,
Spy?
Zach. I can't say that I have. I don't think I've even heard of it.
Oh man, Gary Oldman. I want to say 2014.
Well, I don't think I've ever heard of that one. So, but I think, honestly, we're going to call it an evening. Zach, and a good review. Thank you, my friend. Another good time. I appreciate it, as always.
Appreciate it.
Oh, I don't, Zach, I don't put up with people. If I want you around, I have you around. If I don't want you around, either I'll tell you or I'll just plain ignore you. I don't put up with you. You are my friend.
Well,
I like having you around.
And really, long anticipated reviews and 2 great films. So appreciate it, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I do want to thank everybody that was in the chat, whether you were lurking or you were active. Ferris of Ferris Geeks World, is always good to see you, buddy. To all of you that'll catch us on the replay on YouTube or on Twitter, make sure you leave your comments below with anything me or Zach may have brought up or may have missed from these 2 films, and let us know. Have you seen Enemy of the State? Have you seen Crimson Tide? If not, did we incentivize you to want to do so? And if so, once you do, come back to the stream. Use the comment section. Let us know what you thought. So
I've got the final line of the script. Send it off to me when you want to close.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm the captain of this fucking ship.
This is.
I'm the fucking captain of this ship.
So, this is the final episode of No Sequel November, so I have not decided if I'm going to do anything else for the remainder of November as of yet, but do keep an eye on my social media accounts on Twitter and Instagram. As always, with December right around the corner, I do plan on having some more festive themed streams for the month of Christmas. This is tradition here on the Ambassador, so be on the lookout for that. And I will be uploading a couple of videos here very, very soon. So keep an eye out for those as well, as always. But as I always like to say as I close, be honest, show integrity, be yourself, but never take yourself too seriously. If you do all those things, you will always have a place in the ambassadorial wing. And until next time, this is the ambassador and Zach saying,
I'm the captain of this fucking ship.
And until next time, these are the ambassadors signing off.
Let's be friends.
Have you not?